Hello everybody. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I don't know if you can distinguish my voice above the chirps of the crickets and the run of the pumps, but hopefully you can. I thought I'd just do a little bit of a live stream update. I just moved some Shelldwellers around a little bit and they seem to be making themselves at home in this tank, and I thought I'd share. Oh, it looks like someone's with us. Thank you for being here. Not sure who it is yet. Oh, we've got several people. Nice. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to turn on the chat, make sure that's working, so I can communicate with anyone who would like to make any comments. Well, anyway, a couple of days ago, I moved some multis around, like I was saying, and it was really interesting to see their posturing as they figured out their territories. I thought it would be, hey, hello from Texas, Zercool Ninja 88. Thanks for joining us. You've been really good with the live streams. I've noticed you on other ones too, so welcome back. And one thing that I noticed, we tried to get the shell beds, because you know each group of multis has its own territory and its own bed of shells. We tried to move the shell beds from one tank to the other without really changing them too much, and it seemed to work fairly well, because the pair that is right in the center screen, you can see the male right now, you can't see the female. Well, actually you can see the female, she's right in front of him. She's usually not that far forward, she's usually further back in the tank, because they're still figuring things out. But they have remained paired up. That doesn't always happen when you move them, so that's cool. And there is a really small one I'll try to show you in just a minute, who is just maturing. I think it's a female that's just maturing anyway, and she has paired up with one of the other males that originally was a bachelor before we moved them over to this tank, so that's good news for him and for me too, because basically I had one pair that was producing. The other pair was producing fry, but seemed to be eating them at a certain stage or something like that, so I don't know what was going on. But so this pair right now, you can see the female in the back there. She's the medium-sized one. She just went behind the male. That is, so you can see the males arguing a little bit. They're trying to figure out the territory. I'm going to move that a little bit as they do that. A lot of times they'll flare their gills. It's kind of fun to watch them do that. And we'll see if we can get a little bit of territoriality going on live for the first time. You know, something I'd like to try, and I haven't tried yet, I just may do that, is, you know, the Malaysian trumpet snails are offensive to multis. When they find them near their shells, they move them. And they'll pick them up and drop them somewhere else. And I've never actually caught it on camera. What I might try in a live stream sometime is actually picking up one of those snails and dropping it into the tank right by one of their nests to see if they notice and do anything about it. I was thinking that might be cool. So I would like to know, from those of you who can hear me, or those of you who are listening, can you hear me okay over the crickets and the aquarium pumps? Is it coming through okay? Oh, it looks like I was getting a chat there? Oh, that's the same one. Okay, cool. But if you happen to be listening, let me know about that, because that would be great if I could get some confirmation on whether or not this is actually working and you can hear the audio decently. I am sorely tempted to try the snail thing. I don't know if the fish would notice as much at this point, just because they're still working on you know, their territories, kind of fighting over territories, if they care as much about snails as they do about other fish in the way. But you never know. It's worth trying, right? See what happens. So right now I'm actually collecting a few snails from the other tank to drop in just to see. I already have Malaysian trumpet snails in that tank, but it's easier to see them, find them in the other tank because of the way the substrate works. So it'd be easy for me to just fish a few out with my tweezers, which I just did. So let's see if this works. All right, here we go. I'm going to try it. And dropping a few right by their nests. And okay, well, that's not what I expected. A gold barb went after the snail just because I thought it was food. That's not really at all what I was hoping would happen. But there you go. Let's see what happens if I just wait a second. See if those fish will notice. Like I was saying, I'm not sure they actually care at this point about the snails, and they may need to wait until the snails crawl out of their shells before they even care about it. So we'll see how this goes. So far, action-packed nothing. They're not doing a whole lot, are they? Well, we'll see. See what happens. Well, maybe I was right. They don't actually care, but that's something to know about. I'll have to try again later when they've got their territories more established. They've really been moving the sand around a lot. As you can see, there's a hill on the right, and that is due to the digging they've been doing a lot. They buried some shells. They buried a Anubias plant, small Anubias plant that I'm going to have to dig up now so it doesn't die. And they've just been really industrious about that after the last few days. One nice thing is because I have these tanks one right next to the other, I didn't have to worry about the acclimation process wasn't too bad, not only because the tanks are right next to each other, but because the temperatures and the other water parameters pretty much identical for the tanks. They're very, very close. And so we were able to just pick up the shells and move them from one tank to the other without any harm to any fish whatsoever. That's always a bonus. So I'm going to move the camera over a little bit to this group of multis. This younger group here was... Whoa, that did not work. Sorry about that. One of the dangers of live video. Okay, let's see if I can get that to work. There, it's a little bit overexposed still. Oh, good. Welcome, Potato Derp. You're in with us. Glad you could make it. I wanted to show you that these multis here, if I can fix that lighting, that's terrible. I'm going to adjust the actual lighting of the tank and see if that makes a difference, because that is way too bright. Let's see if that helps. Let's see. I'm going to do... Oh, that's better, isn't it? Well, it was a little better for a minute. And it wasn't so much... Oh, I like that better. Is that any better? I think so. This group of multis was in this tank and had been in this tank for some time. And then I had to move them, or when I put the other fish in, they decided to move themselves from the right side of the tank to the left side, which is really interesting. And these are all siblings. These four here that are swimming together are all siblings, and they seem to want to hang out together. It's really interesting to watch how the familial groupings work. I found that fascinating. They seem to recognize each other even when things are moved around in the tank and when they're moved from one tank to another, all that kind of stuff. And you'll notice that these are a little lighter in color than the others, than some of the others, because they've been on the lighter substrate longer and they react to it that way. Now I'm going to move it over again. Pardon the earthquake. If I can get it over here to a different spot. This little spot here, this small fish appears to be a female, and she has been making friends with the male who's now in the shell. You can see him hiding in the shell on the right there. They seem to be getting along well, and she has claimed that shell, so maybe they are going to pair up. Hopefully they won't reproduce until she's a little older, but that seems to be a pair in the making, which is nice. So I've been happy about that. I'm not quite sure. Now, you can see, here's the big hill I was talking about that they made. And you can see here how these fish are quite a bit darker than the ones I was showing just a minute ago, the little siblings on the left, because they are from the older tank where they've been on black substrate. So some of these it's a little harder to tell because they've been here for a few days. This one here is very dark, and I just moved it yesterday. Well, my daughter moved it yesterday. She was really excited about helping me move the fish, so I let her do it. And that one's a little hard to focus on, but you can see it's very, very dark. And you have to be careful when you're moving multis. You can't move multis into a tank of other multis that are very well established without doing things like moving the shells around a bit, because otherwise you will be basically intruding upon existing territories, and they don't like that. So they can be very vicious. So I needed to make sure to do it within a couple of days of moving everybody to this tank, which I did, and it seems to be okay, although that fish is still quite a bit shyer than the other ones. Well, I think that's about all I had to say about the multis. If you have any questions or comments that you'd like to throw out there, now's the time to do it. I'd be happy to hear from you. And so go ahead if you have any. Looks like we have Zero Cool Ninja 88 and Potato Derp in here, and then someone else who hasn't commented yet. Let's see. Well, I'm planning on releasing a more thorough video of the actual, both the tanks. This one I'm just focusing on some aspects of this tank. Oh, this is Sideshow Abel says, this is officially my favorite channel. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that and for joining us. Oh, Mr. Spudbud is in. Hi, welcome. We're getting more people, and their energy and curiosity reminds me of Gary. Oh yeah, I can see that. Now, Gary is your betta, so that makes sense. These do have a lot of personality like bettas. I often say that bettas are a lot of bang for your buck in terms of personality, and these multis are along those same lines, so definitely agree with you there. Yeah, but it's interesting. I've noticed too something about the baby multis. They don't really seem to be attached to a shell. They'll hide in any shell, or they'll hide in the little gaps between the shells in their shell bed that their parents maintain. But they don't really attach themselves to a shell. But when they get to a certain size and age, then they start getting really attached to a certain shell, which is kind of fun. That's when they seem to develop their personalities. It's about the time they develop their stripes. So like this little one here, along with a much bigger male, it wasn't long ago that she started to show interest in a specific shell. So I thought when I first got them that maybe I needed to provide really tiny shells for the young shell dwellers, but it looks like you don't actually need to do that. What really interests them is the larger shells and the gaps between them, until they get, like, they don't care very much about individual shells, but they do care about the gaps until they get older. Oh, and Potato Derp says, I agree, this is my favorite channel as well. Awesome. I'm glad that we can be of interest to you and have helped you. I love doing it. I know that those of you who watch this channel must love creatures as much as I do, and hopefully you love all of the variety of creatures that I do. I know a lot of you do. Not just fish, but reptiles, amphibians, invertebrates, everything really. A lot of times the animals I choose, I find them all fascinating. The animals I choose because they're approachable, you know, because there are plenty of animals that I'm very interested in that are not particularly approachable right now in terms of budget or space or time investment. But multis, for example, or crested geckos, those are approachable. I can do that. They're feasible with the amount of time I have and with the amount of money and space and so on, and that's kind of why I do it. That's why I choose those specific animals. But I have found that fish, reptiles, amphibians, and invertebrates, those are the ones that I can really kind of dial into. That way they tend to be less demanding in most of those areas. And of course, you know, it varies, but some amphibians, for example, can be very demanding, but it's just sort of a general rule, I guess. And sometimes I'm interested in one because it is it's really easy to take care of. It might not be super inexpensive to set up, like my dart frogs. Not super inexpensive. They cost a fair bit to set up, but once I had them set up, now they're extremely easy to take care of. So some are like that, and others are just really inexpensive and easy to take care of. You know, it just depends. And also the situations, the specific situations, like my dart frogs, I didn't actually have to pay for the frogs. I just paid for the setup, and that, of course, helped. Well, looks like it's just about time for me to wrap this up. I was going to go maybe about 15 minutes. So thank you to Zeracool Ninja 88 and Potato Derp and Sideshow Abel and Mr. Spudbud. And I think those were the people who made comments, and anyone else who joined us, because some people were in and out. So anyone who joined us, Thank you very much. I'll have a new video for you on Friday, and my batteries are just about to run out. I've got to time these things better. But yeah, those of you who are celebrating the 4th of July tomorrow, happy 4th. Those of you who are not, you know, enjoy your day and your weekend. Oh, I mean your week. It's not a weekend yet. It feels like one because tomorrow's a holiday for me. So may the fish be with you, everyone.